All right. Hey, guys. Good morning. Eric Amati here with FFL Medicare, FFL Healthcare. And I've got Joe Wahl with me this morning, founder of Insurance Toolkits. How you doing, Joe?
Well, how are you, Eric?
I'm doing great, man. So Joe, we're going to just make this one quick and dirty, man. But I want to get out of the way and just let the software do the talking. You have, I think, one of the coolest tools. When I first got into the final expense and term markets and was having to go to all these carrier websites to try to figure out, cheat sheets and which one made sense for what. And when I saw your the ease in which your tool like just drills down in such a quick way to like, okay, well, given these health conditions, these are the carriers that'll give you the best deal. And the fact that you now have Med Sup on there as well, I love your tool. I'm a huge fan of it. Anybody that's watching the video, uh, if you fall in love with what Joe's saying, you're not using this already. It's InsuranceToolkits.com. I'm gonna have that on the bottom of the screen here. InsuranceToolkits.com. And we have a code, Joe, that you've given us. It's FFL15, FFL15 will save you 15% on your monthly service cost. And it'll come automatically tailored and populated with all of the FFL carriers. So you don't have to think like, oh, do I have that carrier or not? It's just automatically pre-populated. But that being said, Joe, I'll let you take it away, man.
Yep. So I'll share my screen and we'll just get right into the basics of it. We'll start with the effects side here, and I'll just show some of the basics of how the system works because they carry over to all of our different toolkits. So before I even do that, one feature that we've added that many of you might not even be aware of, we added it last week, is spell check. So especially for those of you who onboard a lot of new agents, these medications and health conditions can be pretty tough to spell. And sometimes it can kind of blow up a sale. If you don't know how to spell something and the client doesn't know what it is and you can't find it on Google, it can make you look unprofessional and can really damage the trust that you have, especially in a telesales scenario where you kind of have to be quick and get everything in a timely manner. So just to give an example here, someone says they take Coumadin and you don't really know what that means. If you type in that medication, we can see here that, oh, it's probably Coumadin, which is a very common blood thinner that people take. So that's something that we've been very happy about adding recently. Very helpful, I think, for a lot of new agents. And now we have instant
Yeah,
autofill.
that's phenomenal.
Yeah, so when you type it in, you can see the results pop up instantly. A lot of you FFL agents have been telling us that it's a little bit too slow, so we changed the autofill system to be instant. So we always add things like this based on your feedback and suggestions to make the system better. So just to give a brief overview of how we designed the FX system. So we design this that you don't enter any face amount or premium on the left side here. So if I have a client, let's say they take a few different medications, let's say they take insulin, but they're not sure of the brand. That's okay. All you have to type in is insulin on the drug. You select the medication, and then we'll walk you down the chain of questioning based on the carriers you have turned on. Like Eric said, all of the FFL carriers are actually in the system for you when you use the discount code. So you don't even have to touch anything. Even if you're not contracted, you can still see what else is available to you because maybe you want to pick something up that you don't have, or maybe you don't use it too often. So in this case, let's just say the person has diabetes. Let's say they take it every day. Of course, it's their insulin, but they've taken it for about the past 5 years. You don't need to have an exact date, but we'll say about the past 5 years or 4 years. So how many units they take a day? So some carriers ask this. Again, an estimation is fine if they take a varying amount. Let's say they take about 15 units a day. Have they had any uncontrolled diabetes in the last 3 years? We'll say no. Was their most recent A1C, which is basically a measure of how controlled their diabetes is, less than 8%? We'll say yes. So now we've asked every relevant question as it pertains to diabetes, and we don't have to thumb through 50 different applications. We don't have to pivot. No matter which company I use, I've asked all the relevant questions. So if I run this quote here, and we're going to leave off height and weight, we'll just say it's a 65-year-old Pennsylvania female. So a pretty common scenario with bank draft. A lot of questions we get are, I have someone with Direct Express. What can I use? All you have to do is select the payment type down here, and we'll filter that out for you. So if we run the quote here, you can see we have a number of different options show up. And what you write is ultimately up to you. We get questions sometimes too of, do I just have to pick the lowest rate? What am I picking here? Pick the company that you work well with, that issues your business quickly, that you can talk to the underwriters if you have an issue. So in this case, let's say I look over my options and I notice a few different factors about the policies. So if we scroll down, we can see here that a few carriers have the star. So Social Security billing, which is something America introduced, I think, a little bit later last year. It allows the policy to be drafted on the person's Social Security schedule. So it sounds just like a silly add-on, but it really is the difference of 10 to 15% in ongoing persistency. You can ask any agent who's doing final expense for years that really is 10+% that you'll see stay on the books, especially for those months where it starts off weird and there's a holiday and there's like a 4-day weekend. And a lot of clients will have that money bounce because the money comes in, they go to the bank the next day that they can and they take the money out. It's not going to be there when the insurance tries to draft. So that's why we try to highlight the carriers really will make an impact for your business. If there's any note that we have to give you, in this case, I have the telesales toggle on. So the standard voice app is not available in PA, but there is a remote signature option. So we try to give you these little indications on the right side when there's something that we have to tell you. So I'm not going to go through every little result here, but whenever there's a result that's showing that it's available, so standard, graded, or modified, we'll tell you why, even if it's declined. So if the client wants to know, why am I not getting a preferred rate with this company? Well, this is why. It's because you have diabetes, and therefore it's going to be standard with this company. So what we'll do now, again, scrolling back up, let's say we want to sell this person an Aflac policy. So it has a competitive rate. It's near the top here. Again, I didn't enter a face amount of premium. So if you don't do that, we just run it at 10,000. But I'm not going to show the client what I'm looking at here. I'm going to sell them on the company I want to sell. That's at least the way I was comfortable selling. So we hit the compare button here, takes me to the compare page. And the way that I always sold was 50, 75, 100, at least for clients who are a little bit younger, which I would consider 65 to be for final expense. So now we have our 3 results. At this point, I would spin my iPad around, or I'd share my screen if I was selling over Zoom. And I tell the client, okay, Miss Mary, these are your 3 options. Which one of these 3 works best for you? And maybe she says, my budget's more so around like $60. What can I get for that? So all we would have to do is go up here, change this to a 60, and we can requote her based on what she's looking for. So the nice thing is, and this Aflac is a great example, Aflac only allows quoting in increments of 1,000. So because we're running quotes that there's not going to be an exact quote for $60 for this client, we'll round it off and we'll tell you why. So you can communicate to the client, your premium is actually going to be $59.90 because they only allow quoting in increments of 1,000. So these little things can be the difference of making a sale and not, especially for a new agent who's not going to be familiar with all these little rules. And you don't want to have them study for days and weeks on them before they go into the field. And of course, when we're ready to go into the e-app, we just click the button and it takes you to the external carrier portal to complete that app. So one thing that is something not all users are aware of is how you carry a quote over between the final expense, the term, and the med sup sides. So this is a pretty simple case, but in many cases, you'll have a number of medications, health conditions, and sometimes the first product you quote is not the last product you quote. Maybe you have to transition to a term. Maybe you discover they have Medicare and you're going to quote them a med sup. So all we have to do is hit the save button below the get. It'll download this unreadable file here. So you can see it says .json. The computer can't read that. Don't try to open it. But if we go to another toolkit, so term or med sup here, and we click load, all I have to do is select the file in my downloads, hit open, and it loads over exactly what I was doing on the other side. So within about 10 seconds, I can carry over all the underwriting information that I entered before, so I don't have to re-enter it again. Now, if you want to save a
great feature, man. I just feel like, so few people know about that. And it's such
we should make it more obvious, but it's a very powerful one, especially when you're cross-selling multiple products. And now that's not the way you should save a normal quote. So if I sold this client on a plan, again, our CRM is very bare bones. It's HIPAA compliant. It's designed to just store compliantly your client's drug and health information. Only you can see it. So if I wanted to do that, I would just click push to CRM, just type in Mary Smith. I'll leave everything else blank. So the reason that this is useful is that if and you should be working your book of business, calling your clients maybe in 6 months, like, hey, Miss Mary, how are you doing? Is everything going well? I see you've been paying on your policy. If you do that, you'll find a lot of clients either have sent in other leads, have gotten policies through other agents, or maybe they want a little bit more coverage. Not that they've had it for a while, maybe some of their friends, family have passed away. So all we have to do, if I call her in a few months and she wants to add on a few thousand, I just go into the clients section of the CRM. I click load quote file next to her tab here. And then I can pick up right where I left off with her. So I can say, okay, Miss Mary, you're still taking the insulin. You're still taking the 15 units. Everything is saved in the questioning here. So it allows you to easily work your book of business, because who's easier to sell than someone you've already sold, someone who is already making their premiums. That's the best client in the world. So we really encourage that with our CRM, but that's really all it's designed to do, nothing more. It's not anything fancy. So to show the other toolkits that we have, so term is here. The only real differences with our term is that you have the return of premium toggle up here if you're selling those products. And then the details of the term policies can be a little bit different. So of course you have the year slider up here. And then if there's any living benefits included in the policy, you can see here. If you mouse over and you go into the agent guide, you can read more details, but those living benefits are really powerful for a lot of people, because the chances of having a heart attack, cancer, stroke, or terminal illness before death are much more common than someone just dropping dead, especially at the ages that we typically sell term. Another thing to take note of is with term, there's a few more different policy types than we see with FEX. So you can see Forrester's here quotes by nearest age. So I just entered the age here, so make sure we're quoting by nearest age. For Americo, they offer a decreasing term product here. So this is not the regular HMS that most of you sell. So, and this one is designed to kind of protect over a mortgage. So if someone's mortgage is $450 a month, I might sell this policy and they can, instead of having the lump sum, take the calculated monthly income. And Americo also released two new continuation products a few weeks ago. So when they get to the end of the term, it converts into a percentage of permanent whole life. So making sure you're aware of these products and how they work can really help you sell, because they're not completely standardized in the way the final expense is. Okay, so switching over to MedSup. So a lot of you have been picking up health products now and selling those, because again, it's the same leads that you're already buying with final expense, and a lot of simplified term clients, they already have these policies, so you might as well try to service them. So for MedSup, the underwriting is very similar to how we do it with life, but it's more of a mortality versus morbidity. So it's underwritten a little bit differently. So a common medication that we see on the MedSup side that's of issue is methotrexate. So it's a medication that a lot of clients take for rheumatoid arthritis. So it's not something we're used to caring about on the life side, especially final expense. But for MedSup, it's a huge, huge concern. So if I enter the drug for rheumatoid arthritis here, you can see that the system will ask you about the total milligrams taken weekly. So this is how a number of MedSup companies determine the eligibility, is what's the dose that the client's taking per week. So these little things can be the difference between getting the policy issued, especially if you're not familiar with the underwriting, and not. So even if you've never sold a MedSup before, as long as you're entering the client's medications into the system, it'll underwrite it accurately for you. I'm not going to go into all the details of a MedSup here, but you enter the zip code here because the rates depend on where the client lives specifically, not just their state. The effective date is important if they're aging in the future. Then, of course, the plan letter. This is all training that FFL can provide to you, but FGN, it depends on what you're selling, and we'll give little, if we're actually the only quoting system that will actually give you the information on what's called the household discount. So with MedSup, a lot of people don't know these little rules. They vary by carrier, they vary by state, they vary by product, and they give the applicant a pretty decent discount. For Aetna, for example, Ascendo, it's up to 14%. Just if they live with someone who's over the age of 18. So imagine if you could get that off of your life insurance just by living with someone else. So by understanding these things, you can protect your business, especially if you sell in different states. No one has all these memorized. It's just not possible. And we'll give you all the rules so that you can make sure you get the client the best rate, as well as communicate the important details, such as, what's the little fee to apply and things of that nature. And if you do sell MedSup, you want to make sure you're cross-selling the ancillary products, dental vision and hospital indemnity. So these products, this is definitely how I was when I was in the field, because I sold FEX first, and I wasn't really familiar with these dental products. But MedSups, at least the ones that we sell today, really don't have these things built in at all. So, and pretty much all clients have teeth and eyes, and they want to make sure that they can be covered for these things. So with all the different dental plans that you have access to, we'll show you not just the rates, but the details for them. So is there a vision rider? If I want to view the specific details of the Emeritus plan, I can just click the tooth and it will show me an outline of what that coverage looks like. If they're going out of network, in network, it does vary by state. So we have all of these set by the state that you're selling in. What if they go out of network, are they going to be covered? For Humana, it's a one-time deductible, not an annual deductible. There's a ton of little nitpicky things with dental, and we'll show you all of these things so you can put your client in a plan, and that also helps to solidify the other business. I'm not sure of what the specific statistic is, but every policy that you place in a house increases your total persistency by X amount overall. So it's important to cover the client fully, or they're going to put in a lead and try to find someone else who can get them the coverage they're looking for, potentially. And the last one we'll show here is hospital indemnity. So at this time, we just have Heartland's product in, but this is a very important one, especially if you're selling Medicare Advantage, where a lot of these clients, if they go to the hospital or if they go to the ER, they have to pay $150, or in some plans upwards of $250 a day for a week just to stay in the hospital. So these plans are designed specifically to pair with Medicare Advantage. So let's say I have a client who's has a Medicare Advantage plan with a 5-day payment period of $250 a day. So for just $23 a month, I can cover this client to make sure if you ever have that hospitalization, you're not going to have to pay anything out of pocket. Because how many seniors really have $1,250 just at their disposal, especially the clients that we deal with, the final expense base, they're not going to have that. And in Heartland's case here, they do have the household discount, so we give you the information on that. And in this case, there's even a guaranteed issue period where the underwriting doesn't make a difference at all. So understanding these products, even if you don't sell them too often, is important for you and your clients, and you get an extra commission for yourself and you protect your clients. It's really a win all around. And we try to go above and beyond and show you what all the little details mean in the policy, because you might not be aware of what it covers if you don't sell it too often, even if you're contracted to sell it. And so that's just an overview of all of our different toolkits. If you guys ever need support, we do have the live chat system here. So during the day, Eastern time, you can put in your email, send us a message. One of our licensed agents who are representatives will assist you with anything that's going on. And that's basically it.
Dude, I really appreciate you being on, Joe. Like we value our partnership with Toolkits very much, and I love the fact that you guys are all licensed agents. You know, you've been in the field. You designed the tool from the perspective of, if I was sitting in front of a client and I was an agent, which I was, right? What would I want to see? What would be most helpful to me? And I think it's absolutely one of the best tools that's out there, and one of the best values an agent can invest in. So appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you doing the video, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Eric.